Good morning. I am Nolan S. Lewis, the chair of the Delaware Commission of Veterans Affairs. On behalf of the DCVA, welcome to today's ceremony. Veterans Day Veterans Day is set aside to honor our service members and veterans, to remember the sacrifices they made and the courage it took to defend our nation. This year marked the 80th anniversary of the Allied forces' invasion of Normandy, France on June the 6th, 1944, which was an awe-inspiring testament to how much service members can accomplish when working together. Just a few weeks later, on June the 24th of the same year, President Roosevelt signed the GI Bill into law. Today, we are simply carrying on the tradition of honoring our veterans and upholding our nation's commitment to them. I want to also thank you, the family members who have sacrificed and supported our veterans during their service. I want to send a special recognition out to our Gold Star families. Every day is a day to cherish the memories of their loved ones. Thank you for being here today. Lastly, I would like to make a special mention about our Delaware Commission of Veterans Affairs commissioners. All our commissioners are veterans and dedicated their time to helping veterans and providing resources to veterans in need. Veterans, thank you for your service. Let us begin the day with a moment of silence to remember the service members who gave their all for their country. Please rise for the presentation of the colors by the Delaware National Guard, Joint Honor Guard, and our national anthem sung by Specialist Carter Steffen. Color Guard present.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we've hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we've watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please remain standing for the invocation by Chaplain Andrew Weiner.
Let us pray. Almighty, you give us life and breath. You also give us the desire to seek justice in our lives and in the world. We have thousands upon thousands of veterans, and as General Eisenhower exclaimed, I hate war as only a soldier who has lived it can, only as one who has seen its brutality, its futility, its stupidity. Even so, Lord, you have put it on our hearts to serve and fight for justice and freedom for our nation and the world. Almighty, that is why we are here to honor our veterans today. And we invite your presence with us, and we long for the day when wars will be no more and justice will reign. But until that day comes, may you give us strength and resolve to stand up for justice. Be with us here for this special day and for all the days that you give us. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Weiner. Please be seated. We are now honored to receive our opening remarks. Please welcome our Governor, the Honorable John Carney.
Good morning. As you'll be able to tell from my voice in a minute, I've been coming down with a cold for the last couple days. And when I woke up this morning, I felt terrible. And then I remembered that the Eagles beat the Cowboys yesterday. I'm not going to ask how many Cowboys fans are out there. I don't want to embarrass you this morning. And then I come here this morning on this beautiful day, and the DRBA has things set up so perfectly, and our Commission of Veterans Affairs is here, and Nolan Lewis is here as the MC, and we heard that beautiful prayer from Chaplain Werner. And how about that rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner? How about the national anthem? Unbelievable. The Gold Star Mothers are where they're supposed to be, right here up front on the side. They've been moving around from event to event. I can't keep track of them. Our congressional delegation, all of the elected officials are here, and you'll hear from them in a moment. General Mike Berry is here, and leadership from the Delaware Army and Air National Guard, and he's here with his special other half, we're going to hear from later. Brigadier General Karen Berry, retired. It's great to be here with all of you. This will be my last Veterans Day ceremony as your governor and as the stateside commander-in-chief of the Army and Air National Guard. And it's caused me to reflect on the Veterans Day that I've shared with so many of you over the years here in this beautiful location. In many ways, you can mark our country's history through the changing faces at this ceremony over the years. One of the only ones that's here every year is Ray Fermani, who is now 103 years old. Ray Fermani. Unbelievable, 103 years old. When I first started coming, I was a young staffer, came with Tom Lewis, then with Senator Biden in the early 1980s. Veterans from World War II and Korea were mainstays in those days, having recently been joined by America's newest veterans at the time from the Vietnam War. In the 1990s, Gulf War veterans fresh out of combat took their seats here as World War II veterans started arriving in wheelchairs and in smaller and smaller numbers. Since the 2000s, I've come as an elected official, and we began to be joined by young people returning home after answering their country's call during 9/11. But while the faces of veterans have changed over the years, our Veterans Day event here has remained a solemn reminder to all of us of our sacred obligation to care for our veterans when they return home. I'd like to highlight one example of Delawarean who is showing us how we can meet this obligation. Mental health issues and suicide among veterans is one of the nation's most troubling problems. In fact, the Lieutenant Governor and General Vavla have been leading Delaware's effort, working with the federal government, federal agencies to expand mental health and suicide prevention. I want to thank you for your work. Thank you and the delegation for supporting those efforts with resources. Jacob DeSabatino is a graduate of St. Mark's High School who went on to the Citadel and became an Army chaplain. He understood that veterans' mental health and suicide is one of our nation's troubling problems, and so he created 22 in 22 as a service project, because about 22 veterans and military personnel die each day from suicide. The service project has evolved into an annual event called VetFest. The event is coming up on its 10th year, and it brings together National Guard, our local veterans group, institutions of higher ed, and most importantly, veterans and their families. It's a day of fun and bonding, but also for connecting veterans with important mental health resources and raising awareness about this serious national issue. VetFest has served over 10,000 people here in Delaware and raised $1 million for critical health care. And what's really special is that Delaware's efforts has inspired VetFest to pop up across the country. Jacob's story is just one of the many examples, and there are many, that shows that veterans don't stop serving when they take off the uniform. Our citizen soldiers in the Army and Air National Guard offer even more proof of that ethic and commitment to service. Through these 8 years as governor, I've had a front row seat to the sacrifice of our National Guard's men and women. From the pandemic to multiple overseas deployments to responding around the country in the wake of natural disasters, these men and women left comforted families and careers to serve our state and nation. I was talking to General Berry just the other day, and he says every day we make veterans through their service in the National Guard. And I want to personally thank General Berry for his tremendous leadership of the Delaware Army and Air National Guard. As governor, it was a point of reassurance and pride knowing that Delaware had a cadre of remarkable men and women stand at the ready to call and to serve. At its core, that's what Veterans Day is all about, a celebration of service. And so to close, I just want to say a special thank you to someone who not only served our country in uniform, but has also served the people of this state for decades. From his time as a naval aviator during Vietnam War, Tom Carper has been relentless in his dedication to serving others. It's what his whole life is about. And throughout his long career of public service, he looked for every opportunity to make sure we are meeting our sacred obligation to our nation's veterans. So today, on Veterans Day, I want to say a special thank you to our senior Senator Tom Carper for his service. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. May God bless our veterans and your families on this special day. I don't want to take your notes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that thank you for that message this morning. At this time, we'd like to recognize our distinguished guests in attendance. I'm going to start first with the Honorable John C. Carney, Governor of the State of Delaware. The Honorable Bethany Hall Long, Lieutenant Governor. U.S. Senator Tom Carper. U.S. Senator Chris Coons. U.S. Representative Lisa Blunt Rochester. Major General Michael Berry, Adjutant General. The Honorable Colin Davis, State Treasurer, represented by Jordan Seaman. The Honorable Trinidad Navarro, Insurance Commissioner. The Honorable Lydia York, State Auditor. Newcastle County Executive Matt Meyer. Senator Kyle Evans Gay. Senator Nicole Poore, Committee for Chair of Veterans Affairs. Acting Director Miranda Mell, Office of Veterans Affairs. Executive Director Tim Cook, Delaware River and Bay Authority. Commissioners for the Delaware Commission of Veterans Affairs, please stand. Members of the General Assembly. Members of the Armed Forces. Gold Star families. Vasme Portlerio, Director of the VA Medical Center. Monica Johns, Newcastle County Council President-elect. Is there any other state assembly members that I missed that want to be recognized? If so, you can stand now. Thank you. Please welcome Senator Carper for a Veterans Day message.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning. Giving thanks to the good Lord for the rain of last night. Giving thanks to the good Lord for the sunshine of today. And giving thanks for the chance to be with all of you. John Carney, thank you for those lovely remarks. And about my service, I remember when John was inaugurated as governor, and I was there. I was in the Senate by then, and I remember being in the legislative hall in somewhere during the ceremony, maybe after the ceremony. I was asked, John, yes? You hold down over there, please. Somebody from New Jersey, I probably. Anyway, I was asked by a person at the inauguration of Governor Carney. Were you the governor when we had the flood of this century? And I said, well, yes, I was. And he said, were you the governor when we had the drought of the century? And I said, yes. He said, were you the governor when we had the blizzard of the century? I said, yes. And he said, you know what I think? And I said, no. He said, I think you're bad luck. Well, I had the good luck to be with on the same ticket with Ruth Ann Minter. Some of you remember the late Ruth Ann Minter. There's a veterans home down just outside of Milford that was her baby, and something that was the apple of her eye, and something that she pushed for. And one of the things that we have in this state to be grateful for today is that veterans home. And some of you know this, but veterans can go there not just for a place to live as they reach their older years. But almost any veteran can go there and get dental care. So we don't all know that, but it's the case. Some of you heard me tell the story about how I first came here right out of the Southeast Asia, through California back to Delaware. Moved to Delaware to get MBA, and I affiliated up with a P3 squadron up in Willow Grove Naval Air Station. Flew with them for another 15 years after that, chasing Russian submarines and P3 airplanes. And a lot of fun. But one of the first things I did when I got to the University of Delaware and got in my first class, I went to find out where I had a DD-214. I went and I asked where do veterans go for health care? And they said, Ellesmere, go to Ellesmere. There's the VA hospital there. You can go there and they'll take care of you. I took my DD-214, got in my Volkswagen Carmen B with a rebuilt engine and drove up Kirkwood Highway to Ellesmere, found the hospital, and found Jerry Chioda. Jerry Chioda became my dentist. Not just there that day at the VA, he was a new guy, newly minted dentist. But he ended up being my dentist for 30-some years. But he said to me after his first checkup, the very first day, he said, you know, if I were you, I would find some other place to get my health care. I said, really? And he said, yeah, really. And I said, why? And he said, well, the morale is bad. He said, the quality of care is not good. The technology is not what it should be. And he said, you can do a lot better than this. And I thought to myself, somebody should do something about that. Somebody should do something about this. But it was, we had a situation back those days. Women, if you happen to be a female veteran, good luck. Because we didn't provide any care for you in Kent County, Sussex County, Newcastle County. Today, every county provides health care for female veterans. Every county provides health care. Back in those days, we did not have if you happen to be from Selbyville or some Laurel, Delaware, some down in Sussex County, and you wanted to visit a VA facility, you had to drive all the way up to Ellesmere and find it, and then drive all the way back. But today I think we may be the only state in the country which has a VA healthcare facility in every single county. Every single county. The first state. And the other thing that I think we could be especially proud of, and on a sad note, but not entirely, for a long time we didn't have a veteran cemetery. We didn't. Now we have two. We have one just outside of Georgetown, We have one just outside of Newark. Anybody here been to there you go. Is that a beautiful place? Are those beautiful places? And we can be enormously proud of them. My staff and I were involved in really all of those. So all of those. But you know, it was very much a team effort, working with the governors, working with Chris, with Lisa, working with Joe Biden, and with all kinds of people to make that happen. And so it's a shared responsibility. And if people come, I'll close with this. People come up to me all the time and say, "Well, thanks for your service," and I hope they say that to you. In fact, if I known that people were going to be this nice to me, I would have quit a lot sooner. Oh, Lisa, Chris knows this, but in the U.S. Senate, people come up to me about every other day, and they say to me, "We'll really miss you when you're gone." And I say, "Where did you meet Lisa?" Yeah.
It's the 11th hour.
It is the 11th hour. It is the 11th hour. I'm going to take a pause and come back. All right, thank you. For a real short one. All right, here we go. On your feet.
It is now the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Please join me in a moment of silence commemorating the end of World War I. Thank you. You may be seated. You can continue, sir. Thank you.
Let me start off. I was at the inauguration for John Carney, and I'll close with this. People come up to me, Lisa, in the Senate every day. Chris sees them, hears them, and they say to me, "We're really going to miss you when you're gone." And I say, "Oh, no. Once you meet Lisa Blunt Rochester, you won't remember my name." And they say, "Oh, yes, we will." And then they have a hard time remembering, "Well, which one are you? Are you?" Yeah, which one? So, but I just want to say what a joy it's been to work with John Carney and Bethany, but a real joy, especially for the last several years with Chris and with Lisa. And before that with Joe Biden, Mike Castle, and Bill Roth. Let's give them a round of applause. What wonderful people. The last word is this. You know, a lot of times when we thank our veterans, we thank them for their service, but many times a veteran has a spouse. And if you happen to be the spouse of a veteran, you serve too. Let's put our hands together for the spouses for all they do. Thank you. And speaking of spouses, my God, what is your name? My God, is this a good-looking woman? At least we ought to salute just flat. Martha Carper, 38 years and counting. Martha says it's the happiest 12 years of her life. For everybody who's made, we've changed the way we treat veterans in this state over the last 30, 40 years. We've changed it. And we're not the first state for nothing. We're the first state in terms of the way we take care of our veterans, love our veterans, look after them and their families in the years to come. All right, folks, that's it. It's a wrap. Thank you for everything. Thanks for the memories. God bless you.
Thank you for your dedication, sir. Thank you. Is this for me? No. This is me. Senator Carper, I'd like to thank you personally for your dedication to the state of Delaware for the many years that I know I've been a resident of Delaware. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. At this time, we're going to welcome Senator Chris Coons for a Veterans Day message.
Good morning, everyone. What a glorious morning. This is the day the Lord has made, and we can and should rejoice in it. It is gorgeous, and it is made better by the chance for us to gather, as we do every Veterans Day, in this place, to thank Delaware's veterans, to thank those who serve and support them, to thank their family members, and to give all of us a chance to recognize so many who have served so long and sacrificed so much. Our state is blessed to have 80,000 veterans, and more than half of them get high-quality care from the VA. Let me just start by thanking Judy and Donna. Gold Star mothers have made a special sacrifice, a sacrifice that never gets easier as the years go on. So would you please both hold them in your prayers today and give them a thunderous round of applause to thank them for what they have put on the altar of freedom. So to Nolan Lewis, the chair of the Veterans Affairs Commission, and to all the commissioners, to Specialist Carter Stephan for the National Anthem and Chaplain Werner for the invocation, to my friend Governor Carney, to my friend Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall Long, and to my friend Senator Carper. What you have heard so far is about the arc of how Delaware has treated and respected its veterans over decades. And when John went through that history of all the different Veterans Day events you've been to, it was a reminder for me too. I've been coming for decades, not as long as John. And I am convinced that John does not have a cold. He simply shouted himself hoarse, cheering on the Eagles. Right? Right? It is good to have a passionate fan. But John dedicated his time to reminding us about how much has been done to address veterans' homelessness and veterans' mental health, what work's been done by our Lieutenant Governor, what work's been done by Chaplain DeSabatino, what work's been done by all the different VSOs. And then he turned to my favorite colleague in the Senate. And I've got a simple secret to share with you. He's not retiring. When I walked in, an old dear friend from Newcastle said, "Senior Senator Chris Coons, congratulations." And I said, "Not yet, and maybe not ever." So let me simply say, as Tom Carper, former governor, Senator Carper, reminded us he and his lieutenant governor invested in a veterans home. He and his staff led investments in veteran cemeteries. He personally has made a mission of his decades of service improving the quality of veterans care here in Delaware. It is my hope and prayer, TC, that you will be with us next year at this event, and that next year, when Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester and I host the annual Veterans Summit that Tom Carper has hosted for decades, that you will grace us with your presence. Please give this good man, Captain Carper, another round of applause for 50 years of serving our nation. Someone else has served our nation 50 years, and because of his experience and because of his family's service and sacrifice, he signed into law the PACT Act, which is the single most important investment in veterans care ever. And implementing it, funding it, and making it work is making good on a long overdue promise. Those who were exposed to chemicals in Vietnam and had to fight their way against their own government for decades to earn the care they deserved. We have cut short what could have been a tragically similar arc for those exposed to burn pits in Afghanistan and Iraq. Please give a round of applause for our President, Joe Biden, for his support for veterans through his service and his life. I've got to recognize my favorite Marine. She doesn't know I'm doing this. But Cleo Jones is a Marine in my office who is responsible for veterans care and veteran service. After this, if you or anyone here needs help, I know that Senator Carper, Congresswoman Blunt Rochester, and I would welcome a chance to go to work for you. This is what VSOs do each and every day. But this is also what we as your federal delegation do. Cleo, would you raise your hand for folks? If you don't know this great Marine, please do. Earlier today at an event at Delaware Tech, we recognized the fact that across several different conflicts, we had 5 different veterans there who had served across different conflicts across generations. And we reflected on how we as a state and a country have done better, generation after generation, at making accessible the support and services you heard about from our governor and my senior senator. It is my pledge to you we will continue to do that in the General Assembly, and thank you, Senate President Pro Tem Sokola, for being here, as you always are. In the General Assembly, with our governor-elect, County Executive Matt Meyer, there will be continued support, regardless of what happens. Elections come and go. But bipartisan, sustained support at the city, county, state, and federal level for the veterans of Delaware is the very least that we owe you and the very best that we will deliver for you. Thank you. I've had the blessing as your senator, who's also on the Foreign Relations Committee, to travel overseas. And I've made a point of visiting Delawareans, whether they are active duty, reserve, or guard, visiting units and visiting individuals, literally from the Middle East to Western Europe, from the Indo-Pacific to Africa. And the most recent trip I took was to Japan and Korea. 6 Republican senators, 2 Democratic senators. And I briefly just wanted to share this. As we visited different bases and different units, every single meeting we had with elected officials at all levels in the Republic of Korea, from the president to CEOs of companies to mid-level electeds, asked me to convey back to the people of the United States, we will never forget your service and sacrifice. This was from President Yoon of the Republic of South Korea. Without your soldiers' service and sacrifice, we would not today be a free nation. If you ever wonder whether the countries around the world for whom you have served and sacrificed notice, care, or appreciate you, they do. We do. You have made the world a safer place, and I cannot tell you how grateful we are for your service and sacrifice. And last, to the Generals Barry. You will soon hear from General Karen Barry, who I've had the blessing of leading my Service Academy Selection Committee, one of the great citizen soldiers who makes clear what it is that we do at home and abroad. I had the opportunity to meet earlier this year with the 160th Engineering Company, both during a departure and a homecoming ceremony, the 261st Tactical Signal Brigade. You and your husband, in your decades of service, have kept Delaware's guardsmen and others in service around the country safe and secure, well-trained and well-supported from deployment to deployment. I know you will enjoy the remarks by General Barry just after we finish hearing from those of us who are elected. Let me close by saying, as you heard from Senator Carper, I will echo. I am blessed and grateful to have Senator-elect Lisa Blunt Rochester joining me in the Senate. It is a tall order for the two of us to deliver as much support and as much enthusiasm for veterans as Senator Carper, but we will do our very best, and I am confident that your next senator will be a fantastic member of your congressional delegation. Thank you all. Happy Veterans Day, and God bless you.
Before we have our next speaker come up, I want to recognize a couple of other organizations. One is the Office of Veteran Services. They make sure that the DCVA has the resources that we need to put on events like this. So can the people of the Office of Veteran Services please stand? They are our counterpart. We are connected at the hip. And one other announcement, and I know the Secretary of the State is not here, but we do have the Deputy Secretary, and his name was not on the list, the Deputy Secretary of the State of Delaware, Chris Knight. Please welcome Representative Lisa Blunt Rochester, now Senator-elect.
Thank you, Nolan. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Okay, you said be short. I heard that, so. Okay, he said not that short. Thank you. It is just truly an honor to stand before you today. And I am really trying to process this moment because as a country, we are at a crossroads. I have prepared notes here. They're beautiful. But I feel it would not be sufficient to not acknowledge this moment that we are in as a country and as a people. And I am a person of faith. And so as I walked in, I don't believe in accidents or mistakes. A woman came up to me with her daughter, and she introduced her daughter to me to say, I am going to be the first woman senator from Delaware. And then she looked at me and she said, I didn't vote for you, but I congratulate you. That gesture, that small gesture, to me, is so important in this moment where people don't talk to family members, where people don't look at each other and see each other. So today on Veterans Day, as we celebrate veterans, people who go into harm's way for us and don't get in a dugout or a trench and say, what party are you? What color are you? Where'd you go to high school? Even though that's what we say in Delaware. We're in this together. We're in this together. And so I start off by just saying thank you. Thank you for allowing me and my team, Krista Weed, who has worked in our office from the very beginning, serving veterans and service members and leading our service academy with people like General Frank Vavala. Nobody has said Frank's name yet today. Frank Vavala. Hello? I knew I'd get some applause if I said his name. Thank you. Thank you. In our Washington office, those of you who came and advocated for the PACT Act, who came and advocated for our Gold Star mothers, who came and advocated for health care and jobs and housing, with my legislative director, who is, and I was told never say was, who is a Marine, Kevin Diamond. Thank you. Thank you. As I said, I've got beautiful remarks here to say, but I really just came to say thank you for your service. For those of you who know we still have work to do, we are committed to this work. We are committed to this work. We know we have done great things, but we know we still have work to do. In the roundtables we've had, women have said to us, thank you for providing some services, but we don't have doctors. So we're going to continue the work to increase that access. We still have work to do. And so thank you for these beautiful remarks that were prepared for me. They're gorgeous. Thank you, Victoria and team. But I do want to thank the Delaware Commission of Veterans Affairs, the Delaware Office of Veterans Services, the Delaware River and Bay Authority, our Gold Star mothers, family members. And I want to share I owe a great debt to Tom Carper, my friend, my mentor, our treasurer, our governor, our congressman, our senator, the last serving Vietnam veteran in the Senate, Tom Carper. Thank you for your service. And as I leave, I want to give a special commitment to the children of service members. There are 1.7 million children. And so as we look to the future of this country, we want to make sure that their mental health is okay, that they have the services, particularly children with special needs who may be bouncing from state to state or country to country, to our children who may one day be sitting in your seat. I want to commit to them as well. Thank you so much for allowing me to serve. Thank you for the future. God bless America. God bless all of you. And let's stick together. Amen.
Please welcome Senator Nicole Poore, Chair of the Delaware Senate Committee of Veterans Affairs.
They don't make podiums for small people, so. Good morning. It is a pleasure and an honor to be with all of you this morning. Joining us are a great number of my colleagues, President Pro Tem David Sokola, and legislators. Please stand. The commitment from the legislative body is strong, and we are here always to support you. Thank you, Senator Carper. You truly are one of a kind. Colonel Jojo D'Angelo, who's also joining us, thank you so much for coming out today. Former Representative Earl Jakes and Representative J.J. Johnson, thank you for always being here. And General Vavala, again, you are among the most special people. Thank you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nicole Poore, and I represent the 12th District right here in Newcastle. Among the many hats I wear in Dover, I have the privilege of serving as the chair of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. In preparing my remarks today, I was thinking about all the members of my family who have served in our nation's military. My Uncle Bill, my Uncle Lonnie, my Uncle James, and then there's also my Uncle Tommy. My Uncle Tommy Murphy, who is here with us today, who will be celebrating his 92nd birthday. Uncle Tommy, please stand. He joined the United States Air Force in February 1953 when our nation was fighting in the Korean War. After serving 4 years of active duty, he spent 4 more years in the reserves, where he went on to spend a 36-year career as part of the Delaware Air National Guard. He and his close friend, Roger Demers, were the first to begin the fuel system shop in Delaware. Without their dedication, skill, and knowledge, the planes would not have gotten off the ground. My Uncle Tommy's legacy of service to his community and to our country was passed down through the generations of our family in many different ways. All of us who are here today have relatives or loved ones who have made sacrifices during their military service. It takes a toll on those who serve, whether overseas or even those who are awaiting deployment or assignment. But it also impacts spouses, children, and everyone in the military member's family. My Aunt Kay is a testament to what our military families endure, celebrating 67 years of marriage and raising 4 children. They have dedicated their whole lives to protecting us. On behalf of my colleagues in the State Senate, I thank each and every one of you and the role that you play to keep our community and our nation safe. Happy Veterans Day, and God bless the state of Delaware.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to kind of go out of order for a minute before I introduce our guest speaker, and I'm going to ask that our governor-elect, Matt Myers, do you have a few words to share?
Good morning. I came here to hear General Barry, so I will be very, very brief. Thank you, all of you, for your service. Thank you to the elected officials who keep these selfless servants in their hearts and in their minds every single day. Thank you to the members of the uniformed service who are protecting and serving us every single day here and around the globe. I had the honor this morning of communicating with Major Ciro Poppity. Some of you may know Ciro as our Register of Wills for Newcastle County. This morning, Ciro ran a 5K on an Army base in Kuwait, an air base in Kuwait. And I simply communicated to Ciro my thanks to him from my family, from the people of the county and across our community for the service that he is giving to all of us, him along with 28 other members of the Delaware Air and Army National Guard who are deployed as we speak in the Middle East to keep us safe. Thank you.
Leaders, thank you for recognizing our veterans for your continued veteran support. Thank you. Thank you. I had the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker, Brigadier General retired Karen Bailey. Karen Berry has served 36 years in leadership roles with Delaware, Connecticut National Guards. General Berry made history as the first woman in the Delaware National Guard to hold a brigadier command position and earned the rank of brigadier general. In her civilian life, she worked in the Indian River School District as a math teacher and a specialist for more than 2 decades. She joined Delaware Tech Community College in 2023 as a veteran advocacy specialist at the Orange campus, where she continues to serve the community. Please welcome Brigadier General retired Karen Berry.
I think I'm good. That might be too low. Thank you, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. I'd like to begin by thanking the Office of Commission of Veterans Affairs for hosting this event today and inviting me to speak. This is not my first time attending this event, but it is my first time attending it as a retiree. Hence the smile, but I'm told I do try to smile a lot because I'm blessed. I have been blessed with many good fortunes, and so I think it's always important to have a smile on your face and be thankful for all the things that you're blessed with in this life. Okay, so today we honor those that are currently serving, those who have served, and as always, we include our families because anyone that served knows you're able to do so because of the support of your family and friends. If this is not your first Veterans Day ceremony, you know that this country started out recognizing Veterans Day as Armistice Day in 1918. This day is to commemorate the end of World War I and is celebrated on the 11th day of the 11th month, and as we did today, the 11th hour, recognizing the end of major hostilities of World War I. On this day, a temporary cessation of hostilities between allied nations of World War I and the German forces went into effect at 11 a.m. World War I was certainly not the first time that our military has been deployed to support another country, but it was the first large-scale operation of our armed forces in the 20th century. The theme for this year's Veterans Day is a legacy of loyalty and service. Our presence at these events is one of the best ways for us to honor this legacy of loyalty and service, but it is also only one of the ways. So as we talk today about our veterans services that we have and how much they've improved over the years, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how you, families and veterans, can continue to honor our legacy and support one another. We also, in addition to being at events like this to honor the legacy and loyalty of service, we have opportunities to connect in many other ways and share our stories and support one another. You can do this by joining our veterans organizations like the VFWs and American Legions and their auxiliaries. It's an excellent way for us to connect with each other and honor our legacy. And as was mentioned earlier, you know, that's an important piece for us, the connections. And we talked about some people doing things for this suicide. That is an important way for us to make connections and help each other get through tough times that you might be experiencing, because everyone experiences their service in a different way. I had the opportunity to listen to an amazing speaker at the Friends of Delaware Veterans Benefit Dinner the other night, and a large part of her amazing story was the power of connecting with others. It's time for all of us to step up and honor our legacy by making connections and continuing to make connections in whatever way you can to help our fellow veterans make life a little bit better. Less than 0.5% of our population currently serve in the armed forces, and that percentage has been dropping. Our military today consists of an all-volunteer service, and it's been this way for many decades now. As the numbers actively serving continue to decline, it's more important than ever for our veterans to be engaged in honoring our legacy. This is how we maintain the connection between citizens and soldiers. That connection must remain strong, for it has a direct impact on our youth and how they feel about volunteering to be part of this legacy and carrying it on, serving in our armed forces. It also has an impact on our nation's tendencies toward conflict. This connection between citizens and soldiers helps our community and country remember our most precious national resource. Our servicemen and women should only be put in harm's way when absolutely necessary. As military and civilian leaders debate the use of our forces, this bond will be front and center. The population will be joined hand in hand with servicemen and women and ensure their services are used with caution. Personal biases or views will not detract from their support who are following their orders and fulfilling their mission requirements. I was asked today to speak of my experience as a traditional guardsman. I enlisted in the National Guard in 1987 to be able to stay in school. And while I was pursuing my bachelor's degree at the University of Delaware, I decided to pursue a commission by completing the ROTC program. Through this commitment, I was able to remain in the Guard while being in school and in ROTC. Once I was commissioned as a second lieutenant, I was able to continue serving in the Delaware National Guard. I continued to serve past my original obligation, and as I moved up in rank, my responsibilities and part-time commitment increased. As a guardsman, I was also activated in support of the citizens of our state for weather-related emergencies on multiple occasions. 9/11 was pivotal for the U.S. as a nation, and it dramatically changed the role of our National Guard and Reserve forces in support of the global war on terror. This change was felt by the soldiers and airmen of our National Guard, their families, and their employers. Clearly, our active duty counterparts and their families also felt the increase, but the increased activations in the Guard and Reserves forced an increase in our part-time commitment. Sometimes it was to be deployed, other times it was to support other units as they prepared for deployment, and more recently for the National Guard, it was an increased call to serve our state on state active duty. The majority of my career of over 36 years was as a guardsman, and it was as a traditional guardsman. For those of you that are unfamiliar with this term, it simply means that other than my initial military training, military schools, and deployments, I typically reported to drill for 1 weekend a month and 15 days of annual training each year. This is what I meant to when I referred to my part-time commitment earlier. Most traditional guardsmen have another job. Mine was as a secondary math teacher. And it can be very challenging as a traditional guardsman to balance this part-time commitment because, truthfully, it requires more than one weekend a month and 15 days a year. For overseas deployments as a traditional guardsman, the experience was different. It's different for everyone, but they definitely are experienced differently by me. As a traditional guardsman prepares to be deployed, they must prepare as a unit to do their federal mission. They must prepare to be away from their home and family. And unlike our active duty counterparts who also do that preparation, we must also prepare to be away from our civilian jobs. In Delaware, we're fortunate to be a small state, so even though no one's really located on an installation, our support network is never too far away in this state. It's more difficult for our bigger states to support families of deployed soldiers or airmen when they are geographically dispersed across a large area. But the disbursements even here still create challenges. When my husband was deployed in 2010, our daughter was in 8th grade and our son was in 11th grade. Since we as guardsmen do not necessarily live in the same general area, I had to make sure I talked to my children's teachers because they were likely the only child experiencing the deployment. I was the only spouse of a deployed soldier in the community where I worked. Our active duty counterparts usually leave their families surrounded by other families experiencing the same loss of normalcy. The families of deployed guardsmen are likely the only ones in their school with a deployed parent, and it can be isolating for them. The spouse of a deployed guardsman or reservist is probably also experiencing the same isolation. When any of us return from deployment, you experience an adjustment back into your normal life with your family and your work responsibilities. If you are in active duty, most people in your area are going through the same adjustments of family and pre-deployment work. A guardsman or reservist has to adjust back to the two-job juggle. When I returned home, I didn't feel the adjustment the same as my active duty counterparts. I returned to a job I loved and what felt like my normal, comfortable routine that just happened to get screwed up for 18 months. After a brief period, I returned to the part-time juggle of work and my part-time commitment. Everyone has an adjustment period when they return from a deployment, but the normalcy of my civilian job helped me get back into my routine quickly. As a traditional guardsman, this experience is clearly different than reserve component and active duty counterparts in other ways. In addition to possible deployments, I had to be prepared to be pulled from my civilian job and activated on state active duty to support my fellow citizens. The high up-tempo of our post-9/11 society was taking a toll on many of us who were juggling these two things. So after 25 years of teaching and being a traditional guardsman, I made the decision to retire early from teaching. I had just accepted a promotion in the Guard, and I knew I was going to have more responsibility and commitments with the promotion. I also knew I'd be transitioning to the Connecticut National Guard to continue to serve. This proved to be a wise decision because it meant that I was no longer juggling the two jobs when COVID hit in 2020. Most traditional guardsmen juggling these two careers and a family find it challenging when your part-time role increases because your community needs you. Our state and nation asked a lot and needed the support of the Guard from 2020 through 2021, and we answered that call. As a senior leader in the National Guard during that period, every state National Guard showed the value of being the hometown force. After I retired from the Army National Guard last December, I was privileged to take on the role as a veterans advocate at Delaware Tech at their Georgetown campus. This is an ideal position for me because it allows me to work with our veterans and servicemen and women that are pursuing education or training and help them with any challenges they face while trying to accomplish this goal. I enjoy my role as a veteran advocate at Delaware Tech. This is another way that I'm able to honor my legacy as a veteran and my legacy as a teacher. Regardless of which branch you serve, how long you serve, or whether you're active duty, a reservist, or in the Guard, we thank you for your service. Our society has an obligation to recognize just how fortunate we are to be citizens of the United States. Each of us benefits from all the freedoms guaranteed by our Constitution, as well as the political, social, and financial advantages that we enjoy every day. None of these freedoms exist without the sacrifice of veterans of our armed forces and their willingness to volunteer to lay down their lives in support of America's freedom. Many that serve may never deploy in a war zone, but they are an equally important part of our armed forces that support the overall mission to protect and defend our nation. Our armed forces have answered the call and defended our nation and our way of life. Today, we honor the legacy of those that have served, as well as those that continue to serve our great nation. God bless our great state, and God bless our great country. Thank you.
Thank you for those inspirational remarks, General Barry. Please take your seats. Commissioner Vice Chair Doug Hudson, the DCVA Vice Chair, will now lead us in the wreath tribute. Will the Office of Veterans Affairs Services please present the wreath?
Thanks for those kind words there, General Barry. I gotta tell you a little story about service and sacrifice. I'm thinking back when I was a brand new second lieutenant, we were training down in Fort Chaffee, Arkansas, and I found out the hard way that Arkansas has fire ants. And I'm telling you, that doesn't feel good. Okay, here we go. My voice is not as deep as Nolan's. No, I hear it anyway. It's time for the wreath salute. As a reminder, we carry out this salute from our seats to be respectful of attendees with mobility challenges. As I read the names of the organizations, please stand, if able, and salute the wreath symbolizing our veterans. Gold Star Families, Delaware Chapter. Okay. Gold Star Mothers of America. The Honorable John Carney, Governor. The Honorable Bethany Hall Long, Lieutenant Governor. The Honorable Tom Carper, U.S. Senator. Secretary of State, I guess it would be he's been demoted. All right. I don't see him on the list here. All right. The Honorable Kathy Jennings, Attorney General. No. The Honorable Senator Coons. The Honorable Representative Lisa Blunt Rochester. The Honorable Colleen Davies, State Treasurer. No. The Honorable Trinidad Navarro, Insurance Commissioner. Delaware General Assembly. Delaware Commission of Veteran Affairs. Air Force Sergeants Association. American ex-PLW, Delaware Chapter 1. American Legion and Auxiliary Department of Delaware. American Legion and Auxiliary Department of New Jersey. American Veterans and Vets. Americans of Polish Descent Cultural Society. Association of the U.S. Army, Delaware Chapter. Delaware Freemasons Masonic Riders. Delaware Medal of Honor Society. Delaware Military Academy. Delaware Military Heritage and Education Foundation. Delaware National Guard. Delaware Patriot Guard. Delaware River and Bay Authority. Delaware Society, Daughters of the American Revolution, Delaware Society, Sons of the American Revolution. Delaware Veterans Incorporated. Desert Knights of American Motorcycle Club. Department of Veterans Affairs Medical Center. Disabled American Veterans and Auxiliary Department of Delaware. Dover Air Force Base. First State Military Academy. First State Military Women's Warriors. Fleet Reserve Association. Heroes Welcome. Jewish War Veterans Department of Delaware. I'm saying, I guess it's Kamikaze Survivors Association. Am I saying it right? Kamikaze. Korean Defense Veterans Association. Korean War Veterans Association. Marine Corps League and Auxiliary Department of Delaware. Marine Corps League and Auxiliary Department of New Jersey. Military Officers Association of America. That would be me. All right. Military Order of the Cootie and Auxiliary Grand of Delaware. Am I saying that right? Military Order of the Cootie and Auxiliary Grand of New Jersey. Military Order of the Devil Dogs Pack of Delaware. Military Order of the Purple Heart. Military Order of the World Wars. National Association of Black Veterans, NAVVETS. Paralyzed Veterans of America. Pilgrim Baptist Church Veterans Ministry. Purple Heart Riders. Scottish American Military Society, the First State Camp. Silent Service Motor Club. Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War. The Reserve Officers Association of Delaware. I need some water. Excuse me. U.S. War Dogs Association. U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Okay, thank you. I have some names that were added in. The Honorable Lydia York, Auditor of Accounts. Newcastle County Executive Matt Meyer, Governor-elect. And Senator Kyle Evans Gay, Lieutenant Governor-elect. Excuse me. United States Air Force, United States Army, United States Marine Corps, United States Navy. All right. United States Coast Guard. United States Navy Cruiser Sailors Association. Okay. United States Submarine Veterans. Veterans of Foreign Wars, Delaware, and New Jersey. Vietnam Veterans of America, Delaware. Vietnam Veterans Motorcycle Club. And Warrant Officers Association First State Chapter. I think that's it. Okay. If your organization was not called and you wish to honor our veterans, please stand and raise your hand and salute the wreath. Delaware Aviation. Anybody else? Okay. At this time, we'll hear from Acting Director Randa Mao. Thank you.
Commissioner Hudson did a great job. It's a long, long list to have to read. And it gets longer every single time we have one of these ceremonies. So if you weren't called and you wish to be added to the list for the next one, please come see me or one of my staff after this. We'll add it to the list. So good afternoon, almost. It's the middle. It's both. If you've heard me speak before, you know one of the first things I'm going to tell you is today is a day for joy, and it's for being together with other veterans. Call your battles. Your wingmen, your battle buddies, your warriors. Shake the dust out of the group chat, check on your friends, and then do it again in a week. That's how we build connection. I'm glad General Barry talked about it because connection is one of the biggest things we have to keep ourselves healthy. The second thing, speaking of healthy, is if you haven't filed a claim lately or gone to the VA for health care, please revisit that with a service officer. We get benefits for this state by having people enrolled in VA health care and people actually going to get VA health care. Just get your flu shot or something. That's how we get funding for the VA hospitals. Everybody wants to demand like funding for the VA, but that's how we get it. Having General Barry speak is kind of a reward for me. I am of the age where I'm old enough and young enough to have been on delayed enlistment when September 11th happened. And even then, women in general roles were few and far between. They weren't unicorns, but they were definitely endangered species. So it's amazing to see some of us who've had long careers and transitioned back to the community afterwards. It's a funny thing. People have finally figured out that women are in uniform, present tense. They see them in uniform, present tense. But then when women leave the military, we become invisible again. So if you're a woman who served in uniform or is still serving in uniform, could you stand for a minute? Thank you. And thank you for being more than two of them, because that would have been awkward. There are a lot more of us than you would realize, and I would be willing to put money that most of us have never been asked if we're a veteran. I'm the director here. I've never been asked that one time, not one time. So, you know, PSA, reach out for each other. This is a great day. I don't think we could have asked for better, honestly. I'd like to make a joke about shipping it in, but I think that's already probably happened. And the great thing about Keep It Short memos is that everybody's taken most of the things I needed to talk about today. One of the last things is we talked a lot about and listened a lot about what Senator Carper has done for veterans in this state. And it does not stand unnoticed. It's felt every single day. My office, the nonprofit organizations, the folks in uniform. Our VA healthcare is better. We have more clinics. We have more providers in the community. We have cemeteries. Our office administers 2 of them. There is so much that has happened here that is directly related to Senator Carper, or to Congressman Carper, or to Governor Carper. But one of the biggest things for the commission is he was the congressman when it was created, but when he was governor, he expanded the commission and made a lot of those pet projects his own to further them for veterans' rights and benefits in the state of Delaware. So our commission would be remiss if we didn't recognize that this is the end of a pretty cool era. He's done a lot for the commission as a whole. He's also the reason we have state and county service officers. We're one of the only states that actually has county service officers regimented and resourced by the state itself. This is actually the kind of thing where people have to scrap for it in most states for county service officers, so people can get their benefits assistance, and we're taken care of by the state here. That's directly related to him. In fact, the agreement we have as a state with the Office of General Counsel under the VA is the exact same one that he signed in 1996. I know because it's printed out on my desk. So the commissioners wanted a plaque. I owe you the metal plates. They're still at the engravers. But this is actually a piece of a legacy blazer from the commission. We could make you an honorary commissioner, but you've done so much more than most of the commissioners ever get an opportunity to do. So we thought it would be nice to call it back to the origins here. With respect and admiration for a career dedicated to advancing veteran causes in the state of Delaware, it's been the adventure of a lifetime serving alongside you. Would the commissioners like to come up and shake his hand, please?
It's a $1 bill. Thank you. Laura, can I say something? I say this to our Gold Star mothers and Gold Star families. This is undeserved but not unappreciated. My mother, my grandmother, maternal grandmother is a Gold Star mother. Her youngest son was killed in a kamikaze attack just after his 19th birthday in the Pacific Ocean. His body was never recovered. There's a huge, those of you, as Chris and Lisa know, have been in my office, there's a huge picture of him, bigger than life, black and white, his newly minted third-class petty officer uniform, and his name was Bob Patton. And in his name, I proudly accept this. Thank you. And Uncle Bob, I love you.
Thank you, Miss Mel. At this time, Chaplain Andrew Weiner will once again come and lead us in prayer. Please rise for the benediction and remain standing as Specialist Carter Stefan leads us in God Bless America immediately after.
Almighty, it has been said that no one prays harder for peace than those engaged in ravages of war. We're grateful for our veterans, and may they find peace. And to all of us, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Honor Guard, post. This concludes today's ceremony. Thank you for coming out, and be safe on your way home.